Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We are reading from the 10th canto, 13th chapter, and sloka number 51. Atma adi samba payantai Muttima vi Sara asarai Nritya kita adi aneka arhai Pritak pritak Upasita Atmadistamba payanter Mutimadbis sarasarai Nritya kitatyanekarai Pritak pritak upasita Atmadistamba payanter Mutimadbis sarasarai Nritya kitatyanekarai Anekarahai Pritak pritak upasita Atmadistamba payanter Mutimadbis sarasarai Nritya kitatyanekarai Pritak pritak upasita Wat het is. Atma adistamba payantai. From Lord Brahma to the insignificant living entity. Muti might be assuming some form. Sara asarahai, both the moving and the non-moving. Nitya kita adi aneka arhai, by many varied means of worship, such as dancing and singing. Pritak pritak, differently. Upasitaha, who were being worshipped. Translation: all beings, both moving and non-moving, from the four-headed Lord Brahma down to the most insignificant living entity, had taken forms and were differently worshipping those Vishnu Murtis, according to their respective capacities, with various means of worship, such as dancing and singing. Purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Innumerable living entities are engaged in different types of worship of the Supreme, according to their abilities and karma. But everyone is engaged, Vivera Swarup Hoy, Kisnera Nitya Das. There is no one who is not serving. Therefore the Mahabhagavata, the topmost devotee, sees everyone as being engaged in the service of Krishna. Only himself does he see as not engaged. We have to elevate ourselves from a lower position to a higher position. And the topmost position is that of direct service in Vrindavan. But everyone is engaged in service. Denial of the service of the Lord is Maya. Ekale Ishvara Krishna Arasaba Britya Yare Yatse Nasaya Setaya Kare Nritya. Only Krishna is the Supreme Master and all others are his servants. As Krishna desires, everyone dances according to his tune. Chaitanya Chaitanya Adi Lila 5:142. There are two kinds of living entities, the moving and the non-moving. Trees, for example, stand in one place, whereas ants move. Brahma saw that all of them, down to the smallest creatures, had assumed different forms and were accordingly engaged in the service of Lord Vishnu. One receives a form according to the way one worships the Lord. In the material world, the body one receives is guided by the demigods. That is sometimes referred to as the influence of the stars. As indicated in the Bhagavad Gita 3.27 by the words Prakriti Kriyamanani. According to the laws of nature, one is controlled by the demigods. All living entities are serving Krishna in different ways, but when they are Krishna conscious, their service is fully manifest. As a flower in the bud gradually fructifies and yields its desired aroma and beauty, so when a living entity comes to the platform of Krishna consciousness, the beauty of his real form comes into full blossom. That is the ultimate beauty and the ultimate fulfillment of desire. Om Jnana Timirandasya Kanananya Salakya Saksu Unmetama Tasmai Sikurave Nama Narayan Maskityam Naram Savanotanam Devim Sarasatim Vesam Tato Dayam Udiriat Pandeham Srikaro Sriyuta Kamalam Srikurun Vaisnavansam Sri Rupam Sakatana Ragnatam Tatifam Satvaitam Savaduta Paritjana Saita Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahalalita Sri Vishaka Vitamsa Nama Om Vishnu Badai Krishna Badai Bhutale Sri Mati Bhakti Vikas Swaminiti Namne Nama Om Vishnu Badai Krishna Badai Bhutale Sri Mati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namne Namaste Saraswati Devi Kora Vamsarane Nevisesa Sunyavadi Pasatya Desatarane Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Kadada Sri Visadikora Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. It's a purport that is difficult in that sense. So many things you can speak about it. That's also one reason that Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Vikas Maharaj, is writing notes, because otherwise it becomes very difficult to concentrate on certain topics what you want to speak. And it's very, very important that we start to apply this kind of knowledge in our spiritual life. Some devotees are engaged 5 years in devotion service, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. But it is very nicely explained by Prabhupada that we have to elevate our position. It can be that we start as in devotion service and the modes are conquering us. Matras pasas Acarya Sitosan Sukadukara Agama in Tam Bharata. That this sloka is giving us actually the answer how we can elevate ourselves from this new five platform, that we still are the three modes of nature are still attacking us, still we are influenced by the three modes of material nature. In the morning the alarm is going and we are not awaking. So that is all the platform of material kind of consciousness, material kind of desires, desires to stay nicely in Tamakun in the morning. But this desire can be overcome if we apply this in our daily life. I remember when I came to Tirupati, it was very hot in the ashram. So I said to the temple commander, I did actually not say, I took my mat and went outside. It was very nice air, very cool, very nice. And then temple commander was calling me back. He was telling, why you are going outside? No, everybody is sleeping inside. And then he was also quoting the sloka, Matras Sukantya Sitostan Sukadukya. Winter season, summer seasons are coming. So why we should meditate on this? This is not our meditation. Our meditation is that Krishna. So we see this as Krishna's arrangement to help us to come out of the dualities of this material world. And once we start to apply this in our daily life, spiritual life will become so much more suitable. Because I was speaking yesterday with Madhav Krishnapu, and we were talking about how everything is arranged in this material world. There are so many, at this moment, so many uproar is there. The demons, they are putting wars, they are putting pandemics, they do so many things to control the living entities in this material world. And so much more things are coming. They are collapsing the economy by purpose. So everything is going on. But they are instruments. They think that they are the controller, that they are the doer. But Krishna has a plan for this material world. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has a great plan. One time Pralananda Maharaj, he was giving a class, and he was speaking about the great reset. That is a word what is going on all over, great reset. But he was explaining that the great reset is actually inaugurated by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is putting the demons on the place. He's pulling the demons to act in a certain way to make, to purify this material existence. Because if we want to have a golden age, the small Satya Yuga, it is not possible in the system what is going on at this moment. In the so-called democracy, it's not possible to put Krishna consciousness. It should first go down and then the alternative can be established. And that is very, very important to understand how this principle, how Krishna is working, how Krishna's hands is working behind everything. And then Patenu Kampa Su Samik Samana Bhutyana Tefatna Kritam Vipakam Ritvak Favubir Vidadas Namaste. And the last Yiveta Yomukti Padesa Dayabak. That is very, very important in our spiritual life. To see that so many problems can come in our life. In Grahastha life, we can have so many problems with the children, or with our husband we are fighting, or with the wife we are fighting. So many problems are there. But if we start to see that Krishna is teaching us why the family members are reacting in a certain way, because Krishna wants to show us some anarthas. We have maybe some Ishvara bhav in the family as husbands. And we try to control in a certain way. And Krishna shows, Paramatma is dictating the living entities in the heart to not listen, to act in a certain way, and to show us. So if we start to put this in our life, the sloka, and we see that, okay, all these problems are given by Krishna, and you accept it with words, mind, and body, and still you do the prayer to Krishna, not that you start to blaspheme the Supreme Lord, that he is not existing, or he is a very, very bad person. No, he is doing this out of love. The Supreme Personality of God that's situated in the heart as Paramatma knows exactly how to inject the medicine to the living entity. And for that reason, all the things are happening in our spiritual life to help us to increase our devotion in spiritual life, so that we can increase. So that at the end of this purport is very wonderfully explained how it is devotee actually who comes to the high state is fully blossomed in consciousness, fully blossomed like a flower, and very nice smelling, very nice aroma is there, very nice, attractive. It becomes very attractive in this material world for other living entities. And for us, one thing is very important in that connection, that we actually become attracted by the devotees who have blossomed, who were fully blossomed or are fully blossomed in this material world. And we have so much, by His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Maharaj, we have so much knowledge about these flowers who completely blossomed in spiritual life. Like B.P. Tirtha Maharaj, he was the first sannyas disciple of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, B.P. Tirtha Maharaj, and he took birth, and his 5 sons were in the family, and his youngest brother, he was Vasudev Ananta Vasudev Prabhu. And it's wonderful to read about how they actually take up Krishna consciousness. He was initiated by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur was actually directing him to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj is very, very interesting personality, that Gaura Das Babaji and Bhaktivinoda Thakur actually told in secret to spiritualists, to disciples, that actually he is my guru. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur was also telling this about Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj. Actually, he is my guru in spiritual life. And one thing what Gaura Das Babaji was explaining about this is that his renunciation of everything what is and as Appasampradaya or Asatsanga, that is his greatest quality. He shows the living entity how we have to advance in spiritual life, what we have to do in that connection. So B.P. Tirtha Maharaj, he was amazing kind of personality, and he was so much powerful. We can also see with some Prabhupada's disciples. They were so much touchstone. For example, Bhagavan, he was one of the main sannyasis of Srila Prabhupada. And he was so powerful and such a touchstone that by giving the Srimad Bhagavatam class of the Bhagavad Gita class, after the class, new people who came for the first time, they were ready to shave. 3-4 people were ready. I want to join the movement, and they were ready to be shaved up. This is the power of somebody who actually is completely in tune. How much endeavors we have to do to make one devotee for the Supreme Lord. So much endeavors we have to do. Krishna Das Prabhu was explaining yesterday in the class about if Prabhupada, his affection was that by his affection he could touch the heart of the living entity, that for lifetime it was enough to mature or to give inspiration in spiritual life. But one thing about affection I wanted also to mention, that this affection is by the pure devotees also given in a not palatable way. If you look to Krishna when he came to Kurukshetra, he was speaking, Yasasma Buddhi Kunapaitri Datkre, Svadika Desha Bama Ikyadi, Swatete Buddhi Salilena Karachis, Yanef Abhignesha Eva Kokara. He was telling that everybody who is thinking that this body, what is made of mucus, bowel and stool, is his real self, or that the country of birth is worshipable, or that his family is his family, but not takes care by going to the dham and sees the sadhus who are in full knowledge of Krishna consciousness as not worshipable or not taking instructions from them. He is nothing more than a cow or an ass. If you see this kind of speaking, it's very harsh kind of speaking. But this is affection of the Supreme Lord. The affection in that way that it gives a shock to the living entity. And all the sadhus there and rishis who were there on Kurukshetra, they were hearing this and they were stunned. They were stunned and did not know what to think or what to do. These words were piercing in the hearts, because in this nutshell, the Supreme Personality of Godhead cuts by the purity. He can cut the attachment to the body. He can cut the attachment to the country. He can cut the attachment to the family, temporary family. And he can give implants, actually, by the spiritual knowledge, awaken the spiritual consciousness, what is in the heart. The living entity can be awakened by this consciousness. So that is very, very important for us. So if we want to elevate our position in this material world, if we want to do this, we should know how to do this. So one thing is Matras Prasausa Kauntiya. The next thing is the sloka. And what is the sloka? Ashada Danasya. You know the sloka? Yeah, Viraktam Anyata Karotu Pumsa. Padanun Smiti Nivrittasya Samasta Dukapayam Asudate. Very, very important sloka. So if once we come out of the Matras Sukantiya, we come out slowly out of the duality, then the taste for constantly hearing the Krishna Katha, constantly hearing the holy name of the Supreme Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, should awaken, and by this, all the material miseries will immediately be subdued by the hearing constantly the holy name of Krishna Harikatha. So this is the stage where we should enter if we put this in our life. And by doing this, by putting this in our daily life, by endeavoring for this, we will make rapid advancement in spiritual life. For that reason, it's very important that the authorities and we engage the bhaktas or the devotees very much in devotional service. The whole day they do service, and then they are inspired to go in the night to do voluntary service for Jamastami. It's very, very nice. But we have to take care that the hearing is also there, that the rounds are chanted properly, that this time is there for the practice of sadhana bhakti. Because if it is not there, I have an example in Bhopal, is there. Very, very nice brahmachari was there, very serious, and so much service he got, almost service that almost he could not chant his rounds. He was chanting his rounds in the night, and no, so much service, no time for reading. And slowly, it went on, and slowly, the material desires start to increase. Sadhana goes down, everything goes down. And what happened? He was there and saw one beautiful form, but as mentioned here also, the living entities are taking so many forms. And he started to see the form as real, not seeing the living entity in the heart. And he became attracted to the material, temporary body, the Sasana Buddhi. So the intelligence was covered, and the desire came there to give up the brahmachari ashram and to enter the grahastha ashram. So that is the big responsibility is there for the leaders. We should always look and see that the service has to go on. Yes. But we have to take care for the spiritual life of the living entity. We should always look how it is going, how the living entity is developing. Is he increasing his position in spiritual life? Or after 15 years, he's still on the same position. Then something is really wrong. Is after 15 years chanting Hare Krishna, the living entity is still falling asleep in the japa in the morning. Then the alarm bells should go off. And we should see, it's a hospital, Srila Prabhupada is telling, a hospital. So the living entity who is not progressing or enhancing his position in spiritual life should be looked and give the right medicine. And look for that, in that connection. One devotee in Bhopal, he was also asking some advice. Prabhuji, I don't get taste. And I recommended him personally, ask for one day Ekadasi to engage fully, that you can chant, read everything there. And he did this, and his spiritual life increased. So that is very, very important, that we see that spiritual life also is increasing. Devotion service is increasing, and everything goes hand in hand in that connection. And then this will be real preaching. Because the preaching, we can have so many stones together. We can have very nice stones. So for thousands of years, such temple is not created, and all this kind of things. But what is attracting the living entity? Is the living entity attracted, dormant Krishna consciousness in the heart of the living entity outside? Is it attracted by some stones? Or will it be attracted by very advanced devotees in consciousness who are relishing Krishna Katha, who imbibing the spiritual qualities and who are increasing the spiritual qualities day by day, like B.B. Tirtha Maharaj, the first disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj in Sannyas Ashram. He was so amazing that I spoke about Bhagavan in France, Srila Prabhupada disciple. But by his classes, he made the living entity, were awakened. They came to Krishna consciousness, and it was like this, that maybe 6 main principal disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, they came by his inspiration. They surrendered to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj. One of them is Kiri Maharaj. Kiri Maharaj, he was hearing the lectures of B.P. Tirtha Maharaj, and he decided on the spot, his guru, he must be a Mahabhagavat, he must be a pure devotee of the Lord. I surrender, and give up my material life. And he became such an instrument that he was so much into Harikatha that 2 years after Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj gave him sannyas and preached all over to the holy name. He was the Mridanka, was explained. The sannyasis of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj were called Mridankas because Harikatha, from the Mridanka, Harikatha is coming. And from the sannyasis also Harikatha came. Pure Harikatha came out of the mouths. And it was inspiring the living entities in this material world. And one other one was Kiri Maharaj, like Sakara Maharaj. He also was hearing the lectures of B.P. Tirtha Maharaj. And by this awakening of Krishna consciousness, he understood my purpose of life is to surrender to Krishna consciousness. And the only person who can do that is the Guru of B.P. Tirtha Maharaj. So he surrendered also his life and dedication. And also within short time, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj gave him the sannyas order. And he was an amazing personality also by only, he was so much in consciousness by giving the Bhagavatam class that even if everybody walked away, he continued to speak Harikatha. And there's some God brothers, they were telling, why you are doing like this? Nobody is listening. And he was telling, but the walls are listening to the Harikatha. So at least the atoms, they can take benefits. So much kind of consciousness. So enhancing our position is very, very important. That is mentioned here. And also, that is also one characteristic of the Gaudiya Math where we are in. And the Gaudiya Math is actually amazing kind of target they have, the Gaudiya Math. The Gaudiya Math is, the target is to come to the Manjari platform and to awaken the 11 characteristics of the Swarup. The name in the spiritual world, the position, a service in the spiritual world, what is our relationship with Radha Krishna. That is very, very high ambition is there. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, by his mercy, he could see that the ambition is very high, but the living entities are not on that platform. They are not awakened the Swarup. They are not completely free from the material desires. So by his mercy, he established, for that reason, the Panasram Dharma, that the living entity can progress in Panasram Dharma, purify the material desires, and come to the position that they are on the awakening, the Swarup, because the target did not change. If you hear Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, that he always gave very wonderful classes, but he also was not always in the background. There was, yes, that's our target. Our target is to actually awaken our Swarup. That is very important. For that reason, he was explaining. And Prabhupada also, sometimes the criticism came to Prabhupada, that you are not giving everything, you're not giving the highest lila, and this criticized came to Prabhupada. But if you understand the whole principle, how it is working, then we understand that why they did like this. Because it's explained by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj that once the anatta nivritti is passed, what will happen? Then automatically the Swarup will awaken to the living entity. Krishna will give the Swarup to the living entity. And how it is coming? By chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The holy name. And that's for Vanasram Dharma is also meant for this. Vanasram Dharma is meant because the living entity cannot sit and not pure chant the holy name to become purified and get taste for the holy name. So the holy name will give the Swarup. The holy name will give the Kuna, Lila, everything is given ultimately by the holy name. It will be all awakened in the hearts. And then the living entity can make progress in this in Krishna consciousness. For that reason, they did not emphasize so much the Lila, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada. But they gave everything. They gave the process, how to come out of Anartha Nivritti, how to enter our Swarup and Nitya Lila, how to enter that. And by that, everything will be revealed. Everything will be revealed to the spiritual living entity. And by making the progress in this Swarup, the living entity will ask confirmation to his Guru. And the Guru will give guidance in that connection, the higher guidance in spiritual life, so that the living entity can smoothly progress in spiritual life. So this is a very, very important kind of understanding, that we understand the Gaudiya Siddhanta, that we understand where we are going to, what is our target. That is, once we have this target in our consciousness, then this automatically be enthusiastic. If the alarm goes in the morning, will be awakened, because then the enthusiasm is coming from the spirit, from the soul. And then we will make more and more progress. Then we will become more and more enthusiastic in spiritual life. Then this affection will also awaken, where Krishna Das Prabhu was speaking about yesterday. Then the affection to give this knowledge to the living entity in this material world, that the suffering what the living entity has, it becomes a suffering of the living entity who is starting to awaken. And we can see with Srila Prabhupada how his Swarup was completely awakened. That one time he was seeing some living entities engaged in golf playing or ball playing. I forgot exactly actually which kind of game they did, but anyhow, all the ball games are completely waste of time. And so they were playing a ball game, and Prabhupada was looking to this. And we also see this. How many times we see this? People playing cricket, all these kind of things. Prabhupada was looking to this, and disciples were explaining, tears were falling out of his eyes. Tears. And he was telling, they are wasting the valuable human form of life. They're playing, hitting a ball. So this consciousness will awaken the compassion, the affection for the living entity, that originally they are Krishna consciousness, but by connecting with the material energy, they are wasting the human form of life. So we can pray, and we should read about these personalities who have awakened this. And by this taste, if we get ruchi for this, Krishna will be very satisfied. If he sees that, oh, they are attracted and glorifying my pure devotees, Krishna will be very happy to bestow also advancement in spiritual life to us in our Krishna consciousness. So let us try to do everything nicely together, devotional service, sadhana, sadhusanga, then our success will be guaranteed in one sense. Krishna will give his mercy. So that is a small thing I can say in that connection. The time is very limited, but I try to put it in a nutshell what I could say about the sloka. Maybe somebody has some question or some doubts. Thank you for your attentive listening. Srila Prabhupada ki, Srimad Bhagavatam ki.